All right. Well, if it's okay with everybody, I want to also honor your time. So as people come in, I will leave time at the end and if anybody has any individual questions, I can circle back or I can make certain that we are addressing anything that doesn't come up. But please know this is a conversation, which also means that questions are welcome at any point. I'm going to start off because I like to fill awkward silence, just going over the high level view of our reopening plan for Region 12 schools. And then we have Principal Kathy Coella, who is here, who is going to talk specifically about her beloved booth-free school and some of the details that come with the opening plans, because whereas my opening plan for the district is a little more generalized and gives that broad brushstroke, Kathy certainly took into account the logistics of booths specifically with the reopening plan. So with that said, my name is Megan Bennett. I'm the superintendent here in Region 12. I had the distinct honor of being the crossing guard at Booth Free School last year. And I'm not gonna lie, it was my favorite thing all year long. But it is because of the fact, the amazing families that are at Booth Free School. And I think there's just such positive interactions. The students who come into the building just fill it with joy. So when I said that I'm highly biased, I am highly biased about the praise that I put on the school. So to talk about the opening plan, I'm going to talk about the things that I believe people want to hear the most, meaning masks, quarantine, social distancing. What does it mean for remote learning? So I'm going to talk specifically about that and an overview of our opening plan. But one of the things that I also want to start with is how proud we are that because of our community, because of our staff, because of all of your efforts, we were able to be fully in school all year long last year. So it is really a testament to our towns and to just the commitment people have for our kids. So we are going to now make certain that we carry on that success and now capture some more opportunities. We knew what was necessary in order to have safe learning this year. Now we're going to capture some of the opportunities to have some more meaningful learning while doing that safely this year. So I did send out our reopening plan, but to start with the questions that people typically want to know, we'll start with masks. And yes, we are requiring masks for all people when indoors in our school buildings. Right now, that is not a school choice. That is the mandate from the governor. So it's actually the law. It's Executive Order 13D. And it is right now carried into September 30th. We will see what is happening as we enter into school, as we continue to make these decisions. We will evolve, but at this point, it is not a decision that is made by schools. This is a decision that has been put on us to make certain that there are safe returns to school. But like last year, we will provide those mask breaks. We recognize that we want our students to be comfortable in their learning environments. So the mask breaks will afford them that opportunity to get some fresh air, will allow them to, smile at others. We want to make certain that we see those beautiful faces. One of the differences this year that we're very excited about is, if you notice when I said masks, I said masks indoors. We are allowing for no masks when outdoors. And we are certainly going to utilize the outdoors for some of our learning opportunities. So we are going to have times where students are going to get their math lesson without masks because they'll be outside learning math. But when they are indoors, we will have them masked up. When they are within their classrooms, last year we had 6 feet apart. This year, based on the data that's been compiled and looking at spread transmissions and safe opportunities, we are now moving from the 6 feet to 3 feet within the classroom. And I will tell you that makes a big difference. When you are not having to shout across the gorge that is to your neighbor, it actually creates some more natural exchanges that can happen. We will be making certain that we monitor for that social distance, but at this time, because students are going to be stationary at their desks 3 feet apart, is well within appropriate social distancing. One of the factors that allowed us to make this decision is also what is considered contact and who's a primary contact, if it is that they are indeed in the presence of somebody with COVID-19. So if it's within the classroom, it's anybody who is within 3 feet for 15 minutes or more. One of the things that we are trying very hard to do is to make certain that we are not impacting students' learning by putting them out on quarantine more than necessary. So if we can keep those safe parameters, and even if someone does have COVID in the classroom, it may not impact your child directly if they are not considered a close contact. So based on the change in what is considered a close contact, we were able to capture back some of that space. We will still have our students have individualized learning materials. So we're not ready for complete sharing of everything right now, but we want to make certain that we are finding opportunities for collaboration. We are finding opportunities for students to work with one another while still keeping some of that social distance that's appropriate. But it's a lot different working with a partner when you're 6 feet apart versus 3 feet apart. So we are actually very excited about that. I did mention the word quarantine. Last year, we had required the 14-day quarantine if you were considered a direct contact of someone with COVID-19. This year, it is no longer 14 days. We have now reduced it to 10 days after consultation with our Department of Health. One of the reasons that we reduced it, because 14 is still considered the optimal, is because of the fact that remote learning is not happening this year. And our teachers aren't able to change on a dime to include having students Zoom into the classroom. So if a student is put in quarantine, they will have asynchronous learning. They will have their materials put in every day, and they will also have an opportunity to work one-on-one with the teacher that day, each day of their quarantine. But that's a far cry from the actual classroom experience. So we want to really reduce that impact. And so 10 days was the compromise to make that happen. But families do have the option to shorten that quarantine if they are tested after the 5th day using a PCR testing. So if you get a negative PCR test after the 5th day, the student can return on the 7th day. So 10 days with the opportunity to test to come back at the 7 days. When that student does return, we will be very vigilant about making certain they are distanced and keeping our risks low for spread. But again, we recognize the need to have students in the classroom for in-person learning and to make certain that learning is not disjointed because of a potential COVID spread. We were able to last year, a lot of schools would put out entire classes. They would have a positive case and they put out the entire classroom. We were able to really use precision in our contact tracing to make certain we really knew who were the primary contacts. And that really comes down to the diligence of Principal Coella and the staff making certain that students stayed distant. So we were able to limit any spread. And so now as we introduce this new variable from going from 6 feet to 3 feet, we're certainly going to make certain that that remains the safest option. The other thing that becomes important for people to know is that there is no longer the option for families to choose remote learning. Last year, we had the opportunity for students to Zoom in. They could learn with their classmates concurrently in a virtual environment. That is no longer the case. So much so that it's no longer the case that we no longer have the ability to have remote snow days. So we were able to get out really nice and early this year because we found a balance in Region 12 between the good old-fashioned snow day and a digital snow day. And we were able to still keep some of the learning going through virtual means, and that is no longer the case, which means that we will have to make up any snow days that we take this school year at the end of the year. So the State Department of Education has been very clear. It is 180 days of in-person learning that is required for the school district. So I'm going to pause there to see if there's any specific questions with regards to masking, quarantine, social distancing, or remote learning. All right, you guys are very easygoing. I appreciate that. Well, I also want to talk about some of the differences too about this year that are things that will look different for your children. And we hope these are really positive changes that your students will find. So at recess, we will bring back balls and frisbees, and they will be playing with one another. We are going to ask that the students wash their hands before recess. They'll wash them again at the end, but we are looking to have more of those interactive engagements at recess. It is also no longer just having to play with one grade level. I believe, and Kathy, you can speak to this. If like, why don't you talk about what recess is going to look like?
Sure, and we're pretty excited about that. So I still have 2 recess waves, K through 2 and 3 through 5. So we're going to allow the students in K through 2 to play together, and they can go on any of the play equipment that's outside. There's no restrictions. Again, they have to wash their hands before they go out and wash their hands when they come back in. They all have playground equipment such as balls and frisbees and all that kind of stuff. They're going to bring them all out, but they can share them among the group that's outside. So we are doing some mixing of cohorts, mixing of grades during that recess time. Grades 3 through 5 will also do the same thing. They'll be able to play together, and they can use the entire play area when they're outside and share equipment. Again, we want them to wash their hands before they go out and when they come back in. And they don't have to wear masks. We do want them to be a little distant, but not tremendous. You know, I think that 3 feet is feeling so much better and gives us more space, not only in the classroom, but outside playing. So pretty excited about that.
But I don't know that the students are going to be willing to give up the noodles. They actually enjoyed noodle tag a little bit. But I can say that as far as we could actually cut the noodles in half if we wanted to. But it is that, you know, we want students to enjoy recess. We want to find the permissions on how we can make certain that they are safely interacting with one another, and now with multiple grade levels in a safe way.
The other thing I wanted to mention too is PTO is looking to put a not a full tent, but a tent outside. So we'll have on the upper field behind K1, behind grades 1, 2, and 5. That area will be covered, which is really nice, so that we can rotate kids through that and have an outdoor classroom. We're only allowed to keep it out until the end of October, but it's still nice to have it for the 2 months. So we're happy about that too.
I'm glad, yes, these are the right things that we want to have happening. The other thing that you're going to see that looks a little different is when the students arrive at school in the morning. In the past, we were doing temperature screening. It was our way to, one, make certain that healthy students were coming into the building. I can also tell you by January, we weren't exactly getting accurate reads on all of the thermometers, but it was also the opportunity for us to engage with the students look them over, making certain that they were going to have a good start to the day, give them a positive hello. As we used to say, we were always smizing. But it was, we recognized there's no longer the need to do those temperature reads. However, we're still going to have our nurses out there greeting and having our staff out there, because selfishly, it was a great way for us to start our day. But it's also one that we want. Yeah, exactly. Roseanne was always out there with her smizes. But it's also the way that we can make certain that the students not just physically are okay, but socially, emotionally are okay. And those are really important checks for us too. You know, there is a lot of times that just before the day would start, and we had somebody who was in tears, you know, it was a bad hair day, and that can really throw anybody off to start their day. And so having a couple minutes to just walk through the hallway with an adult and talk, we also found that that was also very helpful to make certain that our students felt comfortable coming in. And so for us, making certain that we're promoting that at all levels is very important. Other things that our students may recognize is that traveling in the hallway, it's not just going to be one classroom at a time. We will keep our distance, but we will introduce some traffic flows. So they will see some other people, maybe see a sibling and wave. You know, those are things that are exciting in our students' lives. You're also going to say we did, and I'm going to say, I think, Kathy, Booth probably has the biggest overhaul of where classroom switches happened. Kathy did a very, very thoughtful job on which classes were going to be placed where. We still need to utilize square footage. So big classes don't fit in our little upstairs classrooms. So trying to make certain that we were right sizing what classrooms were assigned to which grade levels happened, because we want to make certain, again, social distancing is in play. Right now, the desks that we are using, the students will see it's likened to what they experienced last year. We are excited to share that come December, we do have new furniture coming in, and the furniture, even though it's individual desks, they are able to come together and they make a round table together. So we're hoping that eventually we're designing for more collaborative time with our students when we can create those opportunities. So how are we returning to school? In our opening plan, you're going to see there are only 2 phases. Last year, when we had a reopening plan, there were 3 phases. In 2020, there was phase 1, which was everybody was 6 feet apart, and there was cohorting, and everybody was, I'm going to use the word segregated based on grade levels and keeping people together. Phase 2 last year had the hybrid, where if half the class was going to stay home and then the other half would Zoom, and we would switch halfway through the week. And then phase 3 was remote learning. I'm very proud to say we never had to move to phase 2 or phase 3 last year, which means we got rid of them this year. We were able to operate under our phase 1. Well, now phase 1 is becoming phase 2. So in our new phase 1, it is the 3 feet apart. It allows Chippewa to have a regular school day rather than block scheduling. It allows for some of those familiar rotations, including our specials rotations. So it's no longer just going to be each month. They're going to be rotated through on a regular basis. That said, if we do see an uptick in COVID cases, we would revert back to last year's plan. But that becomes now our plan B. So our plan A is to introduce some more normalcy and to introduce more regular scheduling that our students can count on. And this way you don't have to wait until December to have gym. If you like gym, we're going to have it once a week. So those are some exciting things for our students. Well, they're exciting for us. We're hoping our students will be excited with us. So those are some of the changes that you're going to see for our phases. Again, we are not planning to go remote. We are planning for 180 days in-person learning. Other things that you're going to see as you go through our reopening plan, We do have the bus, the bus conditions. All students who are riding on the bus, we will have one student per seat on each bus. The students will need to be masked. We will have the windows cracked so that way we continue to have the ventilation on the bus. Students will be placed in assigned seats. And assigned seats aren't just because that's the easiest way to get them off the bus and not passing each other, but it also becomes incredibly important if indeed we do need to do any contact tracing, knowing where the students are assigned, knowing how they behaved on the bus. That also determines who may be placed into quarantine. I'm going to say to you, there were certain times where we did have a positive COVID case that was on a bus ride. And based on how our students behaved on the bus, no one needed to be quarantined because our students sat and maintained that 6-foot distance, because of the fact that they weren't reaching over the seat and touching one another, and how they loaded and unloaded the bus actually allowed us to determine that there were no contacts. So, we certainly want to continue with that practice to keep students safe when they're coming and going from school. We will be doing and Kathy, I'm going to have you talk about parent pickup and how that will work, because I believe it worked very well last year. So I'll have you speak to what that looks like.
So we did learn some really good things, or we gained some really good things during this whole process, like greeting children in the morning and having adults outside. At the end of the day, we're going to follow the same procedures that parents who are picking up will go down to the gym door. There'll be staff members down there, and one person will sign out at a time, and your child will be called. Children will sit alphabetized by their last name. And that was really smooth, and it went really well. So we're going to continue that. As far as the buses are concerned too, I do like the line order. Kids really learned that rather quickly, got into their line order, and it was fast. Kids got into their line, they knew where they needed to be, and we were able to load them onto the buses. So that worked out extremely well. So I'm really pleased that we're going to continue that too. So I would say receiving students and exiting students at the end of the day really was quite smooth, and will continue in the same fashion. And if you're new, if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me additional questions. You can always email me. You can always call Laura Horgan, our secretary. We're always there to help you. Okay.
And we are asking families, just when they do come to pick up their students, just because there is the interaction and so many students are present, to just mask up just for those few moments.
Oh, yes. I'm
grabbing the child and going. And we know it's an extra level of security, but it is one that, again, learning is so precious and their time in school is very meaningful. We don't want any unnecessary exposures. That said, last year, I know we were very restrictive about parents couldn't pick up the friends, like it had to go directly to the parent, and how we were able to control dismissal like that. This year, we will allow, with the parent's permission, for the child to go with another parent if there is indeed a carpool arrangement that we can support. So we will certainly help in those capacities as much as possible. So other things that we need to know, we are looking to introduce some of those events that we knew and love in the past. So Kathy talked about the ice cream social. It's going to look a little different. So we've gone, and there will not be the scooping of the ice cream, but we will certainly hand you the Dixie cup that will then be able to enjoy ice cream together outdoors in safe measures for our PTO. Our PTOs are going to ask for more information at the events than in the past, because unfortunately at the PTO events, if there is indeed a person who comes who is positive for COVID, they have to do the contact tracing. So they may be asking for your email address or phone number. And that is just an extra precaution, because as a school district, we cannot provide them that information. So we will certainly support them as they go through, but just prepare yourself that we are looking to hold the events, but we also recognize that as we hold the events, they are controlled events to make certain we still maintain safety. We are looking forward to eventually having volunteers back in the schools, not in September, maybe probably not in October, but soon. And when we do, we will certainly let any of our parent volunteers know the conditions and how they need to interact within our schools. But please know, we are looking to create some of those opportunities where we are making our schools feel a little less restrictive. The other thing that we are going to be introducing is that last year, any families who had a meeting with the teacher, whether it was for special education or parent-teacher conferences, those were solely remote. We will give families the opportunity, if they prefer virtual, and I know we had many families who said, oh, it's great. I just popped on at work and I could just take the 15 minutes and then go back to what I needed to do. We will afford that opportunity again, but we will also provide opportunities for in-person meetings if that is preferred. With that said, we are not able to do in-person open houses yet. We do not have the square footage to accommodate for all the families who are going to want to see these schools in person. And I think it's about the teachers communicating the expectation and information. So those will be virtual this year. Again, we're going to continue to watch for opportunities where we can do events that are in person in the school, but that is absolutely dependent on what are the local health conditions. We're very happy to share that technology-wise, we have for our kindergartners and first graders, they have one-to-one iPads, so they will have their own devices that they'll be able to utilize. And then Chromebooks for grades 2 through 12th grade, to be honest with you. And one of the things that we're really excited about is our students have shown such a proficiency with technology at this point that we are introducing this year as an enrichment opportunity. On Fridays, our students will be able to learn computer science. We will have somebody coming in to teach our children programming. And so students will have the opportunity to use Lego robots. They will have the opportunity to design scratch games. They will have the opportunity to utilize robots within our classrooms. So for us, we have seen our students' ability to open up the potential that technology has. And we want to push it to have that be something that also can be very creative, very fun. We know that we don't have the STEM tag teacher right now separate from the classroom teachers. So this is yet another opportunity to enrich and reach beyond so the students have. That's a great question. The question was, is that going to happen before or during or after school? That is going to happen during school. So all students will have that opportunity to do computer programming, kindergarten up through 5th grade. So we're very excited about that. And please give us feedback. We want to know how your students feel about this. We rely on experts. We rely on our Department of Health. We rely on CDC. We rely on the State Department of Education. But we also rely on you because you are the expert when it comes to your child. And the more feedback you can give us about how they're feeling, how they're responding to, even things like mask wearing, or how is recess going? Is the social distancing too much for them? They can't figure out their bubble yet. Those things become very important because we can help create educational opportunities and also socially and emotionally safe opportunities. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to any questions that people have. You're welcome to use the chat box. So right now I'm going to answer the first question we have, which is, are there enrichment programs after school? And Kathy, do you want to speak to that? Because I know we have a couple.
Well, PTO is going to be starting a few of those enrichment programs. I'm not sure when the start date is going to happen. And I'm not sure what rotation it's going to be. So they're still in the planning process of doing some of those things.
Mm-hmm. But we also will have Lego robotics that are after school, and that's separate than what is going to be our computer programming that will happen during the day. Other enrichment opportunities that happen during the day are the maker spaces opportunities.
We are going to start up makerspace again. I've created a rotational schedule. So we'll see how that goes. You know, I know the kids are going to be excited about that.
There's a question, Kathy, what room are the fifth graders in?
Oh, they're downstairs in the room they were in last year. It's one of my bigger rooms. And so that's a big class. So yeah, oh boy, sorry.
I know it's a boy. The good news is that with a different teacher, they created different.
It looks different.
So.
Yeah, it looks different, but I need to put them into a room that has lots of space. The upstairs rooms are just too small.
So the next question is, are there any languages? And the question was Spanish. We did have Spanish, not last year, 2 years ago. Last year, we had to pull the Spanish teacher in order to support some of our interventions. We have not returned to Spanish this year. We still need to stabilize the education. We really did see the impact the pandemic did have on our students' achievement. So right now, this year, we're really focused on accelerating our students' learning. This is really the point in which the academic recovery is more of a marathon. What we are hoping to do is in the 2022-2023 school year, reintroduce a language. Right now, we are currently toying with whether or not we would bring back Spanish or if we're looking towards Mandarin. So stay tuned for that. So that will be, but we do value foreign language. It's just right now in times like this, we had to sacrifice some enrichment to make certain that our core program was in place. Question, where is lunch and is it the same food program?
Yeah, we're going to be offering the hot, I call it hot lunch, but it's a cold lunch. We are going to be offering the lunch program again free. And so it's the same process as last year. Lunches can be eaten outside. They all have their specific areas where they can go and picnic, sit on their towels, bring towels. Otherwise, some will be in the classroom, some will be utilizing the gym if it's indoor lunch.
Thank you. And so, and as Kathy said, and I just really want to hammer this home, it is free lunch again this year. We are asking our families to go online to order in advance because the lunch is driven over to the school. So it is a delivery. It's not made at the school. So it is important that we get those lunches right. Our food program has done a great job of dropping off some extra every so often in case something happens, but it does mean that not only does your child may not get their first choice versus if you go online and coordinate that. We have a question, where can we find the list of supplies needed for their child's grade, specifically fourth grade? So is there...
that's a good question. I'm not asking people to get supplies. I have provided supplies for all our students.
The next question is the drop-off process. So they're new to Booth. So do you want to talk through the process on how we do our drop-offs?
Yeah, so there's two ways of dropping off a student. You can park across the street by the senior center and walk them across. And they can come at 8:40 and beyond. If you're going to do a car drop-off, it has to be 8:50 and beyond because we need to get our buses in first. If you're doing a car drop off, you have to teach your child to get out of the passenger side. You'll pull up in the front of the building. You'll see the adults out there waiting. Teach your child to get out of that side, and then they can just be greeted by the adults there and go down to their classrooms. So there's two ways. You can park across the street or you could do a car drop off.
The next question, and I see that we have some cheers for potentially Mandarin, which makes me very excited. Seeing that there's another grade level, so third grade missing supply list. So I'm certain we can follow up accordingly. Bethany asked a question regarding lunch ordering still through NutriSlice. Yes, we were planning that. We did have to do a platform transition. So the fact that you're saying the app doesn't have our school region anymore, I'm going to bring that information back to our cafeteria manager so we can make certain that that is up and going. So thank you for that warning. We will get that fixed by tomorrow. So thank you.
So the question for third grade is the same. I purchase all the supplies they need, but don't forget every day to send a water bottle to school as well as a snack. If they signed up for the lunch program, they won't have to worry about lunch. If not, they have to bring their own lunch.
These are
thumbs up.
I was going to say, these are fantastic questions. And quite frankly, thank you for the heads up.
Don't forget to look at the document that I sent home, the A to Z, that gives you a lot of information and that can help you out. It's always a good reference.
So I am going to say, we want to make certain we're going to continue with the communication. Obviously, we will notify you if there's any cases, so you have the awareness. That's what's happening across the district. If there are COVID positive cases, you can start to see some of our trends. But if there is ever a time that your child has been exposed to where they are direct contact, we would certainly call you directly. So for us, we're all trying to make those safe choices. We are not going to make any decision in a bubble. We want to make certain you have access to all of the information, which is why you can certainly go on our website and find any piece of information. But website aside, we are always accessible. And we are only an email, a phone call away. We would rather let you know firsthand versus playing the game of telephone. And I think as we've learned, social media doesn't always give us the right answers. That does not mean I'll always give you the right answers, but I'm going to try really hard, and I will ask the experts to make certain that we are giving you the most up-to-date and as close to accurate information as we have. Next question we have is, when can we have a class list? So new and like to see in our daughter's class. We don't typically give out students' names. So it may be one that if the teacher is working with you, you may want to have the conversation on how getting to know you happens within the classroom. But it is not one that we typically send out in advance of school.
So PTO also puts together a directory, but you have to want your name in there. So look for the information from PTO to fill out that information. And then once that's developed, you'll have everybody's names.
And that is a great question. And I will tell you, when you get that PTO book, that's a great way for, when you're trying to organize any play dates or what have you, that is your key document.
Yeah, it's a great one.
All right.
All good questions.
It is. And I'm going to say to you, as we're starting to wind down, I'm going to stick around for a little while longer if anybody wants to ask any questions. I know, Kathy is here with me as well. So if there's anything specific to your child, please feel free to stick around. We're happy to talk to you. Or if you want to shoot us an email, we will continue to update our websites. We will continue to send out information through email as our plans evolve and change. And our plans will evolve and change. How school starts in September is not how it's going to look in June. Mm-hmm. We are going to constantly adjust ourselves based on how the pandemic evolves. And for us, your child's safety is paramount, but we also want to capture some of those, I don't want to call them normal moments, but we want to capture some of those joyful events that we can to make certain that school is full of memories that they're going to hold true. I do see one last question. Chippewa session is actually tomorrow. So you will have the ability to come in. It's tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So good news, it's the same exact link. I kept it for all of our schools. So if you'd like to come to the Chippewa, it's the same one. The difference is that we will have Principal Shells and Assistant Principal Croft will be there to address anything that is specific to Chippewa itself. Good news, we are making Chippewa masks too. So nothing special is happening at Chippewa that's not happening at Booth and vice versa. But I'm going to say to you again, if it's something that you have a specific question, you don't have to wait till we have an event. We are open at any time. So with that said, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you for your positive energy and your enthusiasm that you're giving to your children, because I think that when they come prepared and they come excited, we can use that enthusiasm to just make some really dynamic, exciting school year that they deserve. So I want to thank you all for your time tonight. And look at that cutie.
I know.
Did I wake him up? I've got a squeaky voice. I'm sorry, sweetie.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Any questions, feel free to just email. I'm happy to respond to any questions or concerns that you have. And I look forward to seeing everyone back.
Forward to seeing you.
Oh, can't wait to see you, Roseanne.
Bye.
Oh, bye-bye.
Guys, this is great.
Oh, thank you. Can't wait to see Samantha.
Oh my gosh. You guys.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Hi. Oh,
Something we said.
must have been. Well, that was good.